Hey guys, it's me Tatum with Just Ask Tatum. I had someone that messaged me this week and really gave me a great topic to talk about. I get a lot of them, and I've got a couple this week that I really want to talk about, but this one is really hit home with me. They want to talk about mental illness and how people say that it's not a disease and it's not something that you're born with, or it's something that they just don't believe in. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not true. Depression, mental illness, stuff like that is really true. When I was growing up, I used to and I'm not going to lie, I used to look at people with mental illness and kind of think, the depression, I'm like, there ain't nothing they can do about that. I mean, come on now, why don't I have that? But I learned in the long run, you might not be born with it. It can happen to you. Or it might be something that's there that you just done really good to cover up, and then it comes out at a later date. I experienced my first anxiety attack at 22 years old. I got married at 21, and even though I did love him, I don't think I was ready to get married. And it was for, different reasons. He had 2 kids that I had fell in love with, and I was told I would never have children. A lot of people don't know that about me. And now they had a mom, and a good mom, a great mom. And but I helped, raise them with him. And he started hanging around a bad crowd, and I joined right in with him because it was my decision. And I feel like you make decisions, you want your marriage to work, you want stuff like that. But we were just young. He's married now, got a great wife. They're meant for each other. And I have a husband, and we're meant for each other. We weren't each other's soulmate, and that's fine. But what I'm saying is I experienced my first anxiety attack at 22, and me and my mom were driving to town, and all of a sudden I stopped at the stop sign, and I remember she said I turned completely white, like a ghost. And my heart started beating out of my chest, and I thought I was having a heart attack. My whole body was tingling. I'd never experienced it before, guys. I'd never had an anxiety or panic attack. I didn't know what was happening. I could breathe, but it was like I was panicking. So, of course, I pulled over. She took me to the hospital. And what was so bad about that day is, I told you guys I tried drugs when I was 21 or 22. I went through that phase or whatever. I was never bad on drugs or anything like that. Never no hardcore drug, but a drug's a drug. But some people had got some, I think they called it back then, they called it crank. And there were some that lived down the road from me. And what's so crazy about it is some of the ones that had to do with Joseph were some of them that was doing it, I guess, too. But anyway, long story short, they called it crank, and I guess they had a bad batch. Well, 2 or 3 people had died. So this was like a day before that I had my anxiety attack. So when I come in, they made it worse because they were asking me what I took and all. And I was like, they were like, we're going to take a pee test. And I was like, that's fine. My mama said, no, you're going to take a blood test. Because if my daughter was on drugs, she'd tell you. Well, my heart rate got to 150. And after that, I got out of the hospital. Everything that I would start worrying about, I would start having an anxiety attack. And then came the panic attacks. The panic attacks, I think, are worse because you feel like you're underwater and you can't breathe. They tried to put me on anxiety medicine. They tried everything from Paxil to Wellbutrin to Prozac. I couldn't take none of it. Finally, later on in life, they put me on Zoloft, and I'm still on Zoloft to this day, and it works. I haven't had anxiety attacks in a long time. Now, when I have an anxiety attack, they'll give me like Xanax or Valiums when I, have a full-blown attack. But like I said, I haven't had one in a long time, and I really believe that's the God, because I have learned to manage them, and I have learned to, just take a deep breath when I feel one coming on, and just everybody's different, okay? But the depression I want to talk about is when my son got hurt, I went into a depression, but it was a hiding depression. I didn't know I was so depressed. I mean, I knew I was depressed, but it was a point of, I didn't want to believe that things that were happening around me, I wanted to believe it was happening to everybody else. It couldn't happen to me. And it did. And my whole life turned upside down. I was a dance and baton teacher. I, started to become an influencer, had everything going for me. And so did Joseph. His life, we were fixing to build him a dirt bike track. He was big in football, shooting, hunting. And then in a blink of an eye, it was gone. Everything. And I learned to, control my depression through that. I did get depressed, but, I had to take care of Joseph. We were in the hospital for almost a year. I was there with him. Mama was here, tending to, we didn't have as many animals then, so she was tending to them. And my husband, he was there when he could be. I mean, it was just a bad situation. Well, when we come home, it was harder because I had to learn to adjust to the home life and everything. And like I said, if my mama hadn't been there, I would have cracked. But, when he still had his trach and everything, and, I had to learn. Mama didn't know how to do none of that. I had to take classes, learn to clean that out. One of my best friends, Cindy, her son was, had a trach put in, so she showed me how to change it better. And I thank her for that every day. My friend Christy and Jamie. I mean, I thank all of them that was there for me, because I don't know what I would have done. And when you got one of your best friends, Cindy, who has a son with cerebral palsy that knows all this stuff, I could call her up, and, she kept the updates for Joseph. She would write them on there. I just send them to her. That way I didn't have to put it on all the pages. So I had a lot of support in, the community, family, and friends. But what I'm getting to is, then I started getting really sick. And it wasn't as bad until my dad got sick and he passed away. It was a little over a year ago. I went into the deepest depression of my life. I mean, that was my hero. That was my, somebody that I just never looked at as passing away. And I know that sounds crazy, guys, but sometimes you just don't think that something like that is going to happen, which I should have been prepared, but you're never prepared for nothing like that. And I couldn't get out of the bed. And I've always been kind of borderline diabetic, but my sugar went up to an 8.4. Because I was just drinking Dr. Peppers. I wasn't, doing nothing. I was just eating whatever. And my mom started having to pretty much do more for Joseph than I ever could, because I didn't even have the strength to lift him up half the time. It got really bad. And then I see now, and what my point I'm getting to about mental health is, everybody is different. But I struggle. I do. And a lot of people don't know that. People say they see me, I'm smiling, I'm happy. But you never know, guys, what's going on in somebody's head behind closed doors. You never know. My husband sees it. My best friends see it. My mom. They know the true Tatum. They know the one that is so depressed and, don't want to get out of the bed. But I've turned my life around with that and got my sugar under control. I'm basically not even hardly a diabetic anymore. I'm basically back to the borderline, but hopefully fixing to come off all my medicine. And I've lost 30 pounds. I got my stomach was always swole. I just didn't feel good. And now I'm just like, so everybody needs something to cope with. Okay. My animals, mine and Joseph's animals, they have really become a support system for me. If y'all notice, when I take them up there to see Joseph, how he smiles. Joseph goes through a depression. People don't see it, but he does. That's why he hasn't been on a lot. Everybody's mental illness is different. Some people suffer from bipolar, schizophrenic, all that. And I want y'all to understand why I told y'all my story here is because there is such a thing as mental health, and everybody's is different. And, you can pray and you can ask God to help you, but we all have to learn differently how to cope. Everybody has a different thing. When I dance with my animals, that just brings me to a space where I'm happy, when I'm teaching Dancer Baton. It's a way for me to understand that it's okay to be depressed. You just got to control it. You can't cure it. I don't know if you can ever cure it. God can only cure it, but he can manage it for you. You can manage it yourself. You just got to believe in yourself and let people in, and that's very hard for me, sharing my feelings. And, there's not many people that know that side of me, that I share my feelings and tell people, this is what I need to do, or, this is how I feel. I just say everything's okay and, just smile and go on about my day. But you got to get up, put on your makeup, brush your hair, put on an outfit. Just feel productive. Find something to do. If you can't work full time or whatever, find something that you love. Like I'm passionate about the animals, I come to the barn, I do. And, some people find a Netflix series and watch them. I do watch TV. But I'm so behind now on shows that I need to catch up on because there's so much other stuff to do. So I'm ready for fall. I'm ready for, to fully go back to teaching and to fully do everything. Last fall, I thought I was going to be ready, but I wasn't. We got events coming up. I'm just happy to be able that Joseph is good enough now that I can get back and do it, because it ain't only his mental health, it's mine, that I need to be where I need to be able to be there for him. And, if you're not good, there's no way you can be good for anybody else. And you got to love yourself before you love anybody else. So that's what I want to talk about. That's what I want to say is, people, remember, mental health is real. And you never know what somebody's going through, and never judge them and never make fun of them. Because I'm lucky enough to know I would never take my own life. But you never know what somebody else is going through. I've seen people who took their life that we would look at. Robin Williams. He had everything. He was a big-time actor, comedian. He had some of the best movies, and nobody knew just how bad he was. And he took his own life. So just remember, when you hurt people or you do things to people or you make fun of them, always remember, you never know what somebody's going through, and they can't take it. That's what I tell people, if somebody's bullying you or being mean, yeah, go back at them. But to just bully somebody for no reason, just because you feel like it, remember, you never know what they're going through, and that you could be the one thing that pushes them over the edge. So people, be kind to one another, love one another, and remember, mental illness is real. And if you know somebody was calling me, I don't think y'all got that last part, but remember, be kind to one another and love one another. I love you guys. And that's all today for Just Ask Tatum. And remember, if somebody is suffering with mental illness and you think, try to get them help. But don't push it too much on them. But don't go and tell everybody else. Try to talk to them first, or someone that loves them very much that you can trust, because you don't want it to backfire in your face. Love you guys. Bye, guys.